The great hue and cry from anyone about the fact that George Bush is in the Maryland mountains this weekend.
I think, though, the worst is yet to come. I think that's the key thing. If there is a ground war, the worst is yet to come, and you'll see the aging of the president if that happens.
Thank you very much, all three of you. And next, we'll meet a combat photographers group who will be risking their lives to take action pictures that will tell the military how good a job they're doing when we come back.
Call now and you can have 13 weeks of the Wall Street Journal and this valuable 120-page guide to understanding money and markets. That's 13 weeks of the Journal for the news and ideas you need every business day. And this guide free, which tells you everything you want to know about money and markets, all for only $37, a 24% savings off the newsstand price. Call now, toll-free, 800-262-7200. That's 800-262-7200 for today's Wall Street Journal.
Ford profiles in quality, vision.
Quality of the glass that goes into our cars is so important, we make it ourselves.
No other car company in the world does that.
Ford glass has to pass over 110 quality inspections. Our people check it, our lasers check it, our robots check it.
Our glass is so good, it not only goes into our cars, many other automakers put it in their cars.
Our goal is to build the highest quality cars and trucks in the world.
At Ford Motor Company, quality is job one.
Unauthorized entry.
There's a war going on, a war on crime. And there's one company protecting homes and families with a state-of-the-art weapon, the Protector from Protection One. Wireless home security, monitored 24 hours a day. That arms with your telephone. Protection One Home Security Specialists, your best weapon against crime.
On the next Lemire's Outdoors, we fish the Columbia River for spring Chinook salmon. RV man Bob Roberts has the hot seat first.
How about that?
And we show you why our guide's banana theory is all washed up. On day 2, we start at dawn and wait, and wait, and wait.
Not much you can do about it. The Pentagon press regulations control the information flow. But the military knows the importance of a visual record of war, and compiling that record is the duty of combat camera teams. They're soldiers who go into battle armed with guns and with videotape. Bill Lagatuda shows what they do.
You guys got your tapes already from headquarters?
No, not yet. 3 Air Force sergeants packing up to go to war in the Middle East. But these young men are among a different breed of soldier. They carry guns and cameras. 26-year-old Tuan Nguyen was born in Vietnam. His family fled to the U.S. after the fall of Saigon. 26-year-old Newton Buckner of Sacramento, California. He was in Saudi Arabia last August. Now he is being redeployed. And 28-year-old Kevin Conroy, a new father who might use a camcorder like this one to record his son's first steps. Instead, he will be taking it with him into battle. And these are the kinds of pictures Kevin and the others will be taking. The sights and sounds of war, all to be sent back to the Pentagon and, after military review, to be seen on American TV screens.
Toughest part, just staying alive. Everything else comes second nature.
Kevin Conroy first saw combat in 1989, and the images the world saw of the invasion of Panama were made by Kevin and other members of the military's Joint Audio-Visual Detachment, better known as Combat Camera. Soldiers who are trained not only in how to fight a battle, but how to photograph it. It's dangerous work.
You do what you have to do. You take the pictures, but if your life's in jeopardy or other people are in jeopardy, then you're, let's say, a soldier.
Senior Master Sergeant Patrick Nugent shot still pictures in Panama using a new high-tech camera that doesn't shoot film.
It's a Sony still video camera, and it's one of the cameras that we have deployed out in reference to Desert Storm right now. And it records imagery on a 2-inch disc. And this allows us to photograph action immediately or mission requirements immediately, run to a transmitter that's hooked to a phone line and transmit this material immediately back to Washington, D.C. in 2 minutes.
That's a long way from the first combat photos taken during the Civil War. In World War I, military photographs from the air proved that planes could sink ships.
A date which will live in infamy.
Combat photographers recorded the attack on Pearl Harbor and many other unforgettable images in the Second World War.
Photography may not win a battle, but it can sure win a war.
Colonel Thomas Diamond was a combat cameraman in Vietnam. Today, he is the worldwide commander of the program for the Air Force, in charge of 1,700 photographers and technicians worldwide. And his vice commander is the head of all Desert Storm combat camera operations.
We're not media. Now, while we use the same tools that you do, our job is to document the activities that are going on for operational purposes. We are part of the fighting force. We're not part of a media gathering team or a public affairs team. And so we have to be very careful to draw that line. So our job is to document the good, the bad, the maybes, the questions, so that we can learn from our mistakes and learn from our victories.
The mission is what? Is it simply to document for history?
Well, documentation for history is certainly a very, very important thing, but the most important thing is to document for operational analysis whether or not the weapons that they used are in fact performing the way they were designed to perform, whether or not their tactics are properly applied or there may be some adjustments, whether or not their deployment was correct, and if it was correct, to make sure that it can be duplicated in the future.
Today, the Air Force's audiovisual service uses state-of-the-art computerized electronic imaging centers. And right now, battlefield cameramen and women are carrying satellite transmission dishes in suitcases, and one day may transmit live combat pictures directly to the Pentagon. So, Sergeant Newton Buckner, who as a kid wanted to work in television, is looking forward to Saudi Arabia, where, with the news media being kept away from the front, he may end up being the eyes and ears of the world.
It is in the back of my mind that there might be a very good chance that the only pictures that the world sees is from people like myself and everyone else of the military photographers who are going to be over there. So it is a very great responsibility, but a responsibility that I feel I can handle.
For Sunday Today, I'm Bill Agatura, NBC News at Norton Air Force Base, California.
Mary Brody won't feel the tiny lump in her breast for another 2 years, but she'll discover it tomorrow after her first mammogram, thanks in part to a new X-ray film created by DuPont that makes it safer to start mammography early. And for Mary, early detection means a 2-year head start on the rest of her life. At DuPont, we make the things that make a difference.
Roger just can't stop talking about the terrific taste of new Arm & Hammer Dental Care Gel. Right, Roger? Mm-hmm. It has the cool taste of freshly picked mint, doesn't it, Roger? Mm. And it has the baking soda our dentist recommended. We'll never go back to our old gel, will we, Roger? Mm-mm. Mm-mm. New Arm & Hammer Dental Care Gel or paste from the baking soda experts. Anything else you'd like to add, Roger? Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
She was wealthy and powerful, but she was alone.
If you of all people sleep alone, it must be by choice.
She was thirsting for the passion of a younger man.
How much you know about your husband, Lynn?
I know I love him.
She was about to learn that passion can kill.
The man studies up on me and then he moves in for the kill.
She was marked for murder on NBC tonight.
Waterbed Emporium repeats their New Year's Day sale. 3 more big days this weekend. Everything priced to clear out. Every single item at Waterbed Emporium is marked down. Super clearance prices on all floor models, one-of-a-kinds, and slightly damaged merchandise. This weekend only. Super clearance prices on waterbeds, bedroom furniture, everything. All priced to clear out. No down payment, no payments till June. Express delivery within 24 hours. This weekend only. Sale ends Monday, 9 p.m. at Waterbed Emporium.
Spend 2 hours and a few dollars and we'll show you the greatest selection of Oregon products of 1991. This weekend through Sunday, come to the All-Oregon Products Show at Montgomery Park in Portland. Over 400 Oregon manufacturers, producers, and processors want you to enjoy big savings on their products. Use your paid admission ticket at the show. See Oregon's finest at the All-Oregon Products Show through Sunday at Montgomery Park in Portland.
News doesn't stop for the weekend. Neither does News 8.
Still to come this morning here on Sunday Today, Jeff Madrick will look at some of the likely effects the war will have on the American economy. Can it lift us out of our recession? And we'll look at anti-war demonstrations around the country. Many resemble the Vietnam protests of the 60s and the 70s. And there's a certain momentum that builds up as people start to focus on this problem. One of the things I was noticing, Mary Allison, talking to some friends who are in university, and they go out and they march, and they're saying, you know, we really are sort of ambivalent. We're really against the war, but boy, we don't like Saddam Hussein. And there are real debates taking place.
And that is the central issue in all of the protests going on around the country. Now, whether they oppose the war or support it, Americans from the District of Columbia to Los Angeles are out in growing numbers speaking up about the war. For many, the movement is evocative of an earlier time, the 60s, a time of turmoil, an unpopular war, an unsettled time at home as well. But memories don't always suffice. This president enjoys broad support for his policies. The soldiers are honored. Many of them are reservists called up for the crisis. And yet there is a disquiet in this country, and the anti-war movement is growing. NBC's Bob Herbert went to visit a staging area for a protest group in New York.
I think it's an unnecessary war. I think that it was a war that could have been avoided.
I feel that people killing each other for any reason is wrong, period.
George Bush is acting like a dictator, sending the youth of this country to die for the oil monopolies, murdering people in Iraq for the oil monopolies.
The war is less than a week old, but already it has provoked a rising chorus of anger and outrage.
Hello, coalition.
This is a different kind of command center, a headquarters for volunteers and recruits mobilizing for the war against the war.
The response is tremendous. As soon as the war started, the phones began ringing off the hook.
It's in this type of hectic, often chaotic atmosphere that the major peace demonstrations are born.
No blood for oil! No blood for oil!
The protests, sometimes violent, have been going on without let-up since the war began.
We've been working, we've been leafleting, we've been in the streets day and night, organizing against this war.
Can I help anybody with tickets?
Yeah.
These are volunteers lining up for bus tickets to Saturday's protest in Washington.
And we have 125 buses leaving just from New York City and the boroughs alone.
The voices in opposition vary widely.
First, I want to say to you that we totally love our troops. We just don't support the war.
If we don't protest, it's as if we're just giving any president the right to take us into any kind of war.
And monies are needed for education, for health care, for housing here. And basically the monies that are being spent, $100 million a day, could be used to solve those problems.
A dilemma for the protesters is Saddam Hussein. While they oppose the war, most of them oppose him as well.
He's clearly a horrible guy. And horrible men should be stopped.
The protesters seemed undisturbed by the overwhelming public support for President Bush and his conduct of the war.
If this is a protracted war and they start seeing young men and women, American men and women, coming home in body bags, that support is going to deteriorate very quickly.
I don't see people racing to enlist. You know, we support it when it's like a football game we can watch on TV. But I don't see people really feel that they feel that this is a struggle that they would give their lives for.
The unifying thread throughout the protest movement is the fundamental, passionate, sometimes even naive belief that world leaders could have settled this crisis peacefully.
It's their job to sit in a locked room for as long as it takes and come up with another way instead of taking the easy way out and shedding blood.
The protesters are adamant. As long as the war against Iraq goes on, so will their war against the war.
We're going to have protests every day, and we'll be in the streets every day until this war stops.
For Sunday Today, Bob Herbert, NBC News.
The business of rambunctious democracy. We'll be back.
If after test driving a Sterling, you find another car with all of its standard features and appointments for $28,500 or less, we'll do more than congratulate you. We'll buy it for you.
The day may come when all refrigerators will keep 12-ounce spills from spilling all over. But only Whirlpool has refrigerators that will do it today.
Question: how can you help stop America's growing dependence on foreign oil? Proper tire inflation. It can save over 4 million gallons of gasoline a day. Let's put our energy into saving it.
There's only one place on radio to get the most frequent, comprehensive, in-depth coverage of the Persian Gulf crisis, 24 hours a day. Portland radio station AM 620 KGW. Tune in and stay in touch. Our next live report is less than 25 minutes away.
Take a trip through America's time machine.
The man is gone, but his message lives on.
And I've seen the promised land.
Join those who stood by his side for the impassioned last speech of Martin Luther King Jr. Also, it's 10 times more deadly than an atomic warhead. And it's lost. The desperate search for a missing H-bomb. Be there with the people that were there on the next Instant Recall.
Monday at 12:30.
As we learned in the Vietnam War and in many other wars, war's effects can spread far beyond the battlefield. And so we thought this morning that it's time to consider some of the consequences and outcomes of the war against Iraq. Rashid Khalidi is the Associate Director of the Center for Middle East Studies at the University of Chicago. He's joining us from Chicago this morning. Thank you for joining us again. You were here just a week ago, I believe, talking about what war might mean. Now we are in it. How do you see this war ending?
I think that's the most important question to be asking. A lot is going to depend on how much damage the U.S. Air Force and U.S. air power is going to be doing to Iraq. This is going to determine how people in this region see the United States. We are trying to picture this, the United States is trying to picture this as a war against Saddam Hussein, but necessarily we're making war on the infrastructure of Iraq, we're making war on the cities of Iraq, and a lot will depend on how careful they have been in avoiding civilians. Now, we really don't know any more than the communiques tell us, and that's not very much, about civilian casualties. But the consequences are very much going to depend on whether it is seen that the United States has devastated Iraq and killed a lot of Iraqi civilians. That's the first thing I would say.
Why do you think we haven't seen any terrorist attacks? There was one small attempt in Manila yesterday. The bomb went off before they got to their target, a U.S. cultural center. But many people would have thought that by this time we'd see airplane hijackings, major bombing attacks. Why hasn't it happened?
Well, the war is young. I mean, I hate to say this, but we shouldn't be as optimistic as some of the journalists covering the Pentagon have become. This may well be a much longer war than we think, and I have a feeling the Iraqis expect it to be a long war. So if there's anything to expect in the way of further Scud attacks on Israel or any other country, or in the way of terrorism, they may well be pacing themselves. It's still early days.
Saddam has been trying to shatter the coalition against him. What does that say about the potential stability of the region?
You have governments in the Arab world in particular, which have very fragile legitimacy to begin with. They have associated themselves with the United States in an attack on the strongest Arab country. In countries like Syria, that has created a lot of tension. This is a government that's lived with tension before. In 1982, the Syrian government sat idly by for almost 50 days while Israel attacked Beirut and the PLO there. So they can take a great deal of this, but The question is there a breaking point? For a country like Morocco, it's beginning to come. Morocco has troops in Saudi Arabia, but the King of Morocco just today has made an appeal for a peaceful resolution. So I don't think we're anywhere near seeing the breakup of the coalition that everybody is direly predicting. But clearly there will come a time as this war goes on where people's loyalties are going to be divided in the Arab world. It's already beginning in many countries. The question is, go ahead.
Professor, we had this decision taken by President Bush yesterday to send these Patriot missiles into Israel, a very important step, a necessary one for tactical, immediate military reasons. And yet, how is that going to play in the Arab world? Is this going to be a cause of really tremendous outrage, perhaps?
I don't think it's going to be a cause of tremendous outrage, frankly. But what we're now seeing is a much closer American-Israeli relationship. And it's now a material relationship in the context of the war. As this war develops, and I think we have to think of it as we're in the first 4 days of a war that may go on a very long time. As the war develops, if this close relationship continues to be demonstrated to people in the Arab world, there may well be a strong reaction. I have to repeat, it's still early days.
I'm going to spin you forward again to the end of the war. There will be a peace conference at some point. Who will be at the table? Will there be any moderate Arab regimes left?
I think there will be moderate Arab regimes left. Clearly the Saudi regime, clearly the Egyptian government are going to be at the table. I think the most important question is what will be the situation in Baghdad? What outcome does our government foresee? What is their projection for what they're trying to do? We hear a call from Marlon Fitzwater, or at least a statement from Marlon Fitzwater about surrender. Well, the Iraqi government, I don't think, is likely to surrender, frankly. They're likely to go down in flames rather than surrender, I would suggest.
There are a lot of big questions still outstanding, and as you said, we are only in the early days of this war. Thank you very much, Professor Khalidi, for being with us this morning from Chicago.
And when we come back, we'll be looking at some of the likely effects of the war on the U.S. economy.
More vitamin C than this, twice the magnesium as this, more vitamin A and beta-carotene than this much iron times 8, and 2 times the vitamin B1 as this. After putting in 30 vitamins and minerals, we didn't have room for artificial colors, flavors, or preservatives. Introducing Essential Balance from Nature Made, a complete, more natural multivitamin supplement. Why would you consider anything else?
At BASF, we don't make the house, we make it warmer. We don't make the suit, we make it racier. We don't make the meal, we make it healthier. We don't make the music, we make it clearer. At BASF, we don't make a lot of the products you buy. We make a lot of the products you buy better. BASF, the spirit of innovation.
It was incredible. I had my tax refund in days. Fastest we ever got it before was almost 6 weeks.
I've never gotten a refund so fast. I mean, why wait if you don't have to? Right? When you know you're getting a refund, you want it yesterday. Jackson Hewitt took a few days. That's all.
In most Montgomery Ward stores, call 691-0922.
On the next News 8 special assignment.
There's a 7-block area in Portland where nearly 150 people die every year, and the community doesn't seem to care. Is anyone helping those who can't help themselves?
It's hard not to want to take some of them home.
You know. Meet the people who make a difference and hear the success stories they help to write.
The story you can't get anywhere else. Special assignment, Monday at 5, only on News 8.
The stock market went practically out of sight in the days immediately following the start of the Gulf War. What investors would like to know now is which way the market will go if the war stretches out. Our financial correspondent, Jeff Madrick, is with us this morning. Did you expect that soar in the stock market? And what happened?
I don't think anybody expected the soaring stock market because everybody expected an Iraqi reaction. In fact, Garrick and I were sitting together when they didn't react, and it was Garrick who said, hey, I think the markets are going to go up here. He got it right.
Right.
But I think what we have to keep in mind is how pessimistic America has been about itself until that very day. And I think the stock market reflected that, the bond market reflected that, gold and oil. Everybody expected enormous oil damage, and it didn't come yet.
Well, that's the key factor, isn't it? The oil is still flowing out of the Persian Gulf, out of Saudi Arabia. If the Iraqis have given their best shot, the Scuds are not going to destroy those oil fields, and that has brought the price way down. And it should stay there, wouldn't you think?
Well, I think it will stay there as long as there is not a lot of oil damage. We don't know the extent of the terrorism. We don't know what's going to happen yet, as you well know, and have been both of you have been reporting. If it stays there, that's pretty good. But it's still, I have to remind you, it's still about the level it was in the summer for all that it's come down. And in the summer, we were going into a recession. And so are interest rates. Interest rates have come down a lot also, but they are still about the level they were in the summer.
And at the end of the summer, you said, and I'm going to put you on the spot, that putting the economy on a war-fit footing is good for an economy except when it's in recession.
Right. And I do not think this is good for the economy.
A lot of people are saying it is.
Even a short war.
A short war is good for the economy only because people thought it wouldn't be a short war. But it is not going to add a lot of spending to this economy. It's not going to add investment, much needed investment. It is a very expensive war. $50 billion, if it comes to that, and it probably will, could be so well spent elsewhere for the future development of this economy. And this kind of spending, it's sad to say, goes down a bloody drain. It doesn't help the future.
Well, it doesn't mean, as we well know, that that money would be spent for other domestic problems. We know the pattern of defense spending. But look at some of the costs. We're talking about $1 billion a day. That's a figure that's thrown out. Each one of those cruise missiles is $1.3 billion.
Right, and 100 were apparently launched.
150.
150.
We're talking about very big money here. $1 billion a day at the start. It's going to probably tail off from there. So the $1 billion a day is something of a shaky figure. But a fancy artillery shell, to bring it down to human level, $36,000 every time they pull the string. A good salary for somebody goes down the drain.
But the defense contractors can rebuild those. When this is over, the defense industry is going to crank up again.
Well, I am more worried about that than happy about that. The reason this economy has done okay, the reason the stock market went up for the last 2 years was not because of defense spending, let me remind us all, but because the Cold War had ended and everybody was optimistic we wouldn't have to spend on defense and we could put funds where they were needed, the famous peace dividend.
Finally, quick word to investors. We're going to have ups and downs in this war. What do you do with your money?
This stock market does not know what is happening. There is not a lot of good information out there. It fluctuates all over the place with every rumor. Lie low.
Okay, Jeff Matrick, good advice, perhaps. Thanks for being with us. And we'll be back in just a moment.
It's there in the way an officer smiles, in the way a steward remembers your name, a kindness that comes easily, a genuine warmth, service that is truly a step above. Come, and for a week or so, allow yourself to be absolutely spoiled by the people of Holland, America, who've made us the best cruise line in the world.
Ford profiles in quality, protecting your investment.
It's really upsetting when something chips the paint on your new car. So today, we're demonstrating a remarkable chip-resistant spray we now apply at the factory to the critical areas of all our American-built cars.
Half this test hood was sprayed with it, half was not. Look for yourself. You can see the difference.
When your goal is to build the highest quality cars and trucks in the world, you don't do it any other way.
At Ford Motor Company, quality is job one.
Now, stay tuned for the Tarnex $1 Million Treasure Hunt. While rummaging through her grandmother's attic, Ruth found what she thought was a box of worthless flatware. Before she got rid of them, she decided to see if she could clean them with Tarnex. And within seconds, Tarnex uncovered a sterling silver surface for 12.
You never really know what you have until you've cleaned it with Tarnex.
Jack struck it rich cleaning his basement when Tarnex turned an old piece of metal into a beautifully etched serving tray.
You never know what you have until you've cleaned it with Tarnex.
Sally hit the jackpot at the flea market when she discovered a set of 18th century copper cookware under years of tarnish.
You never know what you have until you've cleaned it with Tarnex.
So get Tarnex. It's guaranteed to instantly find the original silver, gold, brass, or copper under the tarnish, or return it to place of purchase for your money back.
Tarnex is available at these fine stores.
Reports from Baghdad say Iraqi authorities have aired television pictures of 2 American pilots reportedly captured after their planes were shot down over Iraq. The Islamic Republic news agency monitored in Cyprus said the 2 Americans were being paraded blindfolded through the streets of Baghdad. The U.S. Air Command has confirmed that 9 American airmen are missing. It has not confirmed the capture of any U.S. pilots by the Iraqis. Now, despite warnings that the Middle East is a dangerous place for Westerners, there are still a fair number of Americans, business people for the most part, in Saudi Arabia. But most of them have now had enough. Here's George Lewis in Saudi Arabia.
Mary Alice, ever since a Scud missile aimed this direction was intercepted earlier this week, the American community in eastern Saudi Arabia has been increasingly edgy. The beginning of the war brought a suspension of commercial air flights, so there was no way for Americans to get out. Until now. Bye, guys. These American citizens in Saudi Arabia have decided it's time to get out of harm's way. More than 200 prepared to board a chartered aircraft this afternoon that will take them to an unspecified location. The U.S. government required the families to pay up to 50% more than the regular commercial airfare, but these Americans consider it a bargain.
Just at this point in time, I think I'd be more comfortable back in the States. This is the only way I could get out, so we're considering this a miracle, because otherwise I couldn't get out.
This first flight was booked solid. Not all Americans want to leave, but the U.S. government is making arrangements for other flights to accommodate the hundreds who do. Mary Alice?
Okay, thank you, George. And now to Washington, D.C., where an estimated 25,000 demonstrators have gathered near the White House to protest the Gulf War. While these protesters expressed anti-war sentiments, they also voiced support for the men and women serving in the Gulf region and called on President Bush to bring them home before any more of them are killed. President Bush was not in the White House during the demonstrations. He's spending the weekend at the presidential retreat at Camp David. That's just outside Washington, as you know. There have been pro and anti-war rallies all over the country, but few as heartfelt as those in Oceanside, California, home to Camp Pendleton, the nation's largest Marine training base. And Margaret Larson is there.
Outside Camp Pendleton, along the main drag of Oceanside, feelings about growing war protests are clear.
It stinks.
At a downtown diner, conversation over eggs and coffee was heated.
We got guys over there going to die for our country, and if these protesters don't like it, they ought to go someplace else.
I don't want to see another Vietnam. I don't want that feeling.
What's your last name, ma'am?
The protests helped motivate hundreds of others to pack into a blood drive for soldiers in Operation Desert Storm.
If you want to demonstrate peacefully, that's fine. But don't burn the flag everyone's fighting over there for.
Outside, Oceanside residents waited for more than 2 hours for the chance to give.
I've been waiting a long time for my husband to come home, and maybe this will help assure that somebody will come home. He doesn't have my blood type, but somebody does.
Yellow ribbons scattered everywhere remind Oceanside that this is a Marine town. Merchants have proudly posted signs of support. U.S. flags are showing up in car windows, and military families waiting for their loved ones are spreading the word.
Support our troops! Yeah! USA!
Margaret Larson, NBC News, Oceanside, California.
And that's the news to this hour.
Except for the weather news. Al Roper's here again with the all-important news today and the 7 days to come.
You bet. Let's take a look at what's going on out there. First of all, again, out in the desert, they are expecting more bad weather.
The war started in the black of a moonless night in Baghdad a few hours before dawn. We heard about it here in early evening after dark. And everything that happened afterwards seemed to happen in what Shakespeare called the dead vast and middle of the night. After Wednesday, I don't remember any days at all. The bombers flew at night against Iraq. The missiles hit Israel in the night. Sunup here is near enough sundown there. As we were waking up and going out, we knew people there were just beginning to huddle together. That knowledge darkened our noon. The world had gone to black, and it was black as midnight. We do not know when the sun will come up again.
Lights. So to show you how sales are doing, I've prepared...
You never know what the day will bring.
The POWs, presumably downed pilots being paraded through the city, is of course a hot issue over here, but right now there is still no confirmation that the Iraqis have picked up any American pilots as prisoners of war, although obviously it would be possible because a number of planes have been shot down over Iraq, and a number of pilots are listed as missing. The other big news as far as this building is concerned is that they got through the night without any more Scud attacks on Israel. That, I think, is the major, certainly geopolitical issue that's playing out here, trying to keep Israel out of the war. And the night that those first Scuds came in on Israel, the U.S. had to do some fast talking to get some Israeli warplanes back down on the ground, or else they would have retaliated right then and there and thrown the whole equation of this Arab coalition against Iraq into disarray. They now have 4 of these Patriot air defense missiles operational in Israel, and of course with each passing day, probably with each passing hour, more of those missiles are going to become operational, and the chances of defending Israel against another Scud shot get better and better. One more issue is the weather, which apparently is really causing some problems with the air campaign. It sounds like most of Iraq and Kuwait are socked in today, and that, of course, is having a major impact on how many of these American planes are actually able to drop their bombs.
David, I suppose this is the most analyzed 3 days of warfare in the history of the world, and you're probably getting tired of doing it. But I don't know where else to turn. Can you take a deep breath and tell us how the war is going?
Sure. You know, we almost analyzed it to death before it started. And it is going, I think, really, the way people had said it would. I mean, the way and the order in which weapons are being used is precisely what all of the pre-war analysis said. You start with your stealth fighters, and then you throw in your cruise missiles, and then you start throwing in all of your air power, and you go after what are called strategic targets first. And I think they're getting to the point where they've worked through a lot of those strategic targets. Those would be their chemical, nuclear, biological facilities, command and control, and then going after his air defenses. And yesterday, a briefer here at the Pentagon stopped just short of saying they had attained complete air control over Iraq. He said they could operate in any sector of Iraq they wanted to, when they wanted to. Well, that's pretty close to air superiority. And of course, the more you gain air superiority, the easier it is to turn your attention to those troops in Kuwait and start pounding them, because remember, that's the object of this whole operation, the liberation of Kuwait. Now, I guess the discouraging thing is that there is still no sign that the Iraqi troops in Kuwait are coming out with their hands up. Nobody had predicted that publicly, but there were certainly a lot of people who were hoping privately that Iraq would get one good taste of American firepower and decide that this was not a battle worth fighting. However, the Iraqi troops continue to just sit there and take it, and I do mean just sit there. They're not even moving around trying to disperse themselves. They're just hunkering down, taking what have to be horrendous casualties, because right now we're talking about B-52 carpet bombing of troop positions, and that just has to be a bloody slaughter. But there's going to be something left there. You can't ever get it all by air, and that's why the ground forces are moving into position for this ground offensive. that U.S. commanders hope they never have to order, because, again, that will only add to American casualties.
I remember Saddam Hussein saying in one of those interviews before the war started, "You cannot defeat us from the air." Begins to look, you're saying, as if he's right.
I think so, unless we get lucky and happen to catch the bunker that Saddam is in at the time with a bomb. They are trying very hard to go after Saddam. Now, the the lawyers say it's okay, Mr. President, we're not trying to assassinate him. You can say, as long as we're not targeting him individually, we're not trying to assassinate him. But the fact is, we're trying to blow up every single building he could possibly be in. And if that's not trying to kill him, I don't know what is. And I think the view of most people in the Pentagon is let's try and kill him. And if somebody claims that was assassination, we'll apologize later, because obviously that is one way to shortcut this war. And let's remember, you know, most of these Iraqi soldiers who are now the targets of this carpet bombing by B-52s are as innocent as our soldiers are. They didn't make the decision to invade Kuwait. They didn't commit the atrocities that were committed in Kuwait. Those were committed by security forces. They're boys just like our boys, and they are just taking a horrendous pounding right now. So for Saddam Hussein either to be killed or to decide that he had had enough would save not only American lives, but Iraqi lives as well.
Thank you, David. David Martin on the war and the U.S. war aims. Thanks for joining us.
Sure.
On board, there are pools and a health spa, a string quartet, a friendly staff, and people just like you who are enjoying themselves like never before. At Holland America, not only do we offer all the pleasures of a vacation at sea, we've made it remarkably affordable, which is why perhaps we've been named the best cruise line in the world.
Introducing Glade Plug-ins Air Freshener. It keeps
on freshening. And freshening.
And freshening.
Plug it in, plug it in.
New Glade Plug-ins freshens for 30 days.
Plug it in, plug it in.
Gently, constantly warms this refill cartridge for a full 30 days.
Freshens 30 days, freshens out of your way. Plug it in, plug it in.
After 30 days, just pop in a refill. Try Glade Plug-ins and plug into 30-day freshness.
Plug it in.
The Quaker Man brings a delicious surprise.
Surprise!
Quaker Oat Squares. You're going to love them from square one.
Surprise!
Love that crunch.
Surprise!
Love the toasty taste. Love the touch of brown sugar.
Surprise!
Last one in the bowl, and it's still crunching. I love it.
Quaker Oat Squares.
Surprise! You're going to love them from square one.
In a stadium called Candlestick, two teams will meet. One, a defensive wonder, boasting a sack attack that pulverizes quarterbacks, and a defense that goes after the rest of the team. The other, the two-time defending champion, boasting perhaps the finest quarterback the sport has ever seen. The Giants, the Niners, the NFC Championship today.
Get ready for some good news. Good sports shines. Farrah and Ryan make a winning combination. It's CBS's First Down.
This is round one.
Good sports after Murphy Brown.
This is CBS.
If we can't guarantee it, we won't sell it. It's a promise we've been living up to for nearly 40 years. I'm proud of that. The next time you need tires, remember our warranty. When you take full advantage of it, it's worth $150 in free services.
If you want to save hundreds of dollars on your water heating costs each year, you need the Spa 2000. For only $24.95, the Spa 2000 shower head will give you a lifetime of satisfying showers and is guaranteed to save you at least 3 times what you pay for it in the first year. This energy-saving showerhead comes with a lifetime warranty and a risk-free money-back guarantee. Order a Spa 2000 for every shower in your home so you can double or triple your savings. Take Bruce's advice and order your Spa 2000 now. Call 1-800-359-9000, operator 600, or send check or money order for $24.95 plus shipping and handling to The Home Advisor Show, 2135 Southwest Wynwood, Portland, Oregon, 97225. Call 1-800-359-9000, operator 600.
It's Sunday morning on CBS, and here again is Charles Kuralt.
Dispatches from the front matter more than any other news ever can. Whole families hang on every word and picture, and the country becomes a family, desperate for news of its sons and daughters. But as David Culhane is about to report in our cover story this Sunday morning, in war, there are considerations other than what the country wants so desperately to know.
Never get into the business of speculating about future operations in order to safeguard the security of those operations.
Because of that, and because of the fact that this information is so fresh, we will be unable to take questions at this time.
Where were they in the sequence of the priority of targets, and what
I really don't want to. I'm deliberately trying not to give prioritization or sequencing because it is a plan that is unfolding, and there is.
News of war is always hard to come by. But news from the battlefront is precious. Not least because the warriors are our children.
Don't no cheap moves on me.
No cheap moves?
Yeah.
Why not? I want to win.
Out of maintenance to participate in the operation, we expected we'd have trouble with it, and we did.
In the Persian Gulf, in almost every war, there is controversy about how news should be gathered. The vital interests of the general public, the military, and constitutional freedom of the press sometimes seem to be in conflict.
I'm not asking you if you can choose it. I'm asking when we'd have the capability to do it.
The culture of the press is very different from the culture of the military. They just have different goals, different expectations. They operate differently.
Larry Lichty is with the Woodrow Wilson International Center for Scholars in Washington. He's been analyzing news coverage for more than 20 years.
Yeah, you have a very individualistic, opportunistic, aggressive, independent, competitive reporter versus a career military person who is very regimented, who knows exactly how it's supposed to go. It is a clash of cultures that inevitably is going to lead to lots and lots of arguments.
What I just said pretty much explained it, sir.
Well, you can tell me what time you shot.
I really don't care to get into the reasons of why, and I'm not.
The dispute is about rules for journalists in the Gulf area. New Defense Department regulations set forth these requirements. First, that news representatives can only cover the hostilities as part of officially designated pools of reporters. Second, that a military escort must be in charge of the pool. And third, that all reports from the pool will be subject to a security review by the escort.
There is nothing in the history of combat correspondence in America in this century that would justify these kind of rules.
Howell Raines, the Washington bureau chief of the New York Times, shares the view of many journalists that the Bush administration is trying to control the content of any war coverage.
I think what really happened is that the Vietnam experience teaches us that you may not be able to sustain war if you televise it, because the carnage of battle is so great that no matter how noble the cause, that the political ground underneath the war action may be eroded by televising that action. So I think what we're really dealing with here is a Pentagon that may understand the threat that close examination of combat in a generic sense.
So in other words, they are going to attempt to control the degree of coverage.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's what we're involved with here.
Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Just a moment, the Secretary will have a short opening statement for you. I think it's incumbent upon us in the Department of Defense to say that we have a system that will allow free reporting, but at the same time safeguard operations and the lives of our troops.
Pete Williams, once a reporter himself, is now the Assistant Secretary of Defense for Public Affairs.
It has to be very clear that what we're not seeking to in any way control or influence is criticism, and it says right in the ground rules, right there for every military guy and every escort to see, that this does not apply in any way to information that is critical of an operation or is embarrassing.
The campaign will unfold as it unfolds, and we'll announce historic things to you. We don't want to announce future intentions, which could wind up getting Americans hurt.
The only type of censorship that has ever been accepted by the American public has been the protection of tactical military information.
Barry Zorthian was the Chief Information Officer for the American effort in Vietnam for 4.5 years.
In Vietnam, rather than review copy or review broadcast before transmission, we established a set of ground rules that listed this type of information, and correspondents accepted those and observed that very well, I must say. The record of the media in protecting, preserving those ground rules, observing them, is excellent.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's all I have for you at this time.
When will you be able to take questions?
We'll be able to do that at a later date, thank you.
Many reporters covering the Gulf action are not happy with the new escorts, pools, or security reviews.
Staying clear of the speculation.
Sorry?
Stay clear of the speculation, please.
Will you show me that ground rule?
There's no ground rule that says...
CBS News correspondent Bob Simon has been in the Gulf area from the beginning. He's already had direct experience with military escorts.
I think we should right now.
You're wrong.
I think we should. I think you're out of line.
If you're interviewing a GI, if you're interviewing an officer, he just will not say the same things when there is an information officer, a captain or a major peering over your shoulder. It affects the very intimacy of the kinds of conversations you can have with people. Not only do we have to be with an escort officer, but we are traveling in what are known as pools, which means that at least 7 of us are together at the same time. It is enforced pack journalism. We are so often accused of being pack journalists. This is an organized form of it. I suspect that the Pentagon, the administration, would like war coverage to come back with F-15s taking off and landing, with aircraft carriers plowing the seas, with the kinds of footage that promote the kind of war which the Pentagon, which the administration will want to see on American television screens.
Civilian reporters were not allowed to be present when Grenada was invaded in 1983. All information came from the military. Press and Pentagon are now in rare agreement about the result. Assistant Secretary of Defense Pete Williams says reporters should not be barred from the front.
No matter how well the Grenada operation may have succeeded in military terms, journalistically it was a disaster. And I don't think there's anybody around the department that would disagree with that.
I thought I was going to die.
The Grenada experience led to a pool arrangement for the Panama invasion of 1989. Reporters think this too was a fiasco, and many observers agree.
The pool did not get there on time, did not get to the right place. When they got there, the public information officers had no idea what was going on.
In any case, news analyst Larry Lichty thinks the new rules for the Gulf War simply won't work as a practical matter.
One of the problems that the military is going to have, if you have 500 or 800 or 1,000 reporters in country, they're going to want to go everywhere and do everything.
Well, our initial estimates were that they had approximately 30 fixed launchers and more than 20 mobile launchers. To date, we're very confident that we have managed to neutralize the fixed launchers Of course, the problem is the mobile launchers and the difficulty in targeting them. We have estimates that say that we may have killed as many as 16 of those mobile launchers, but it's very, very difficult to confirm that kind of targeting. So they're still there, and we're still spending a great deal of time to make sure that they can't fire them.
Chemical weapons have not yet been used by the Iraqis on their missiles. Are you confident that they do not, therefore, have the capability to use them? The chemical weapons are no longer a problem?
I think it's a little bit early to make that assumption. Chemical weapons are definitely a problem if it comes to aerial delivery bombs or their close-in artillery. I think the jury's still out on whether or not they have a chemical capability for their Scuds, but I would certainly say we're encouraged by the fact that they haven't used them so far.
Fred Francis in Washington.
General, what happened to the Iraqi Air Force? We were told yesterday the United States and its allies have killed 10 Iraqi planes. They have better than 500 combat aircraft. Can you tell the American people what's happened there?
Yes, we've actually killed 15 in air-to-air combat to date, but what's happening is they're just simply not flying. I think that's a fact, it's attributed to the fact that we have almost completely taken out their ground control radars. That's the method by which they normally vector their airplanes against their enemy aircraft. And as a result, their aircraft have been kept on the ground and kept very much in shelters. We, of course, have gone after those shelters, and we are continuing to go after those shelters, but there's no way in the world we can really estimate what's inside those shelters and how much damage we've done to date. I also think there's a possibility that he may be trying to husband those very valuable resources to use at some later time.
And we've just learned from the Pentagon, General, that you're getting one more aircraft carrier from the United States, which is going to be put in the Eastern Mediterranean to protect Israel. Will that be part of your command?
The Eastern Mediterranean is not part of my command. Of course, that's part of General Galvin's command in NATO, but I already have 6 aircraft carriers, and that's more than sufficient to accomplish my missions.
General, you referred to the fact that Saddam Hussein may be husbanding his air power to use later in the war. Do you believe his strategy now is essentially not to fight the war he can't win, which is the air war, and to conserve his strength for a ground war in Kuwait that could be very costly to American troops?
I think that's probably what he expects to happen. I think he may find himself disappointed if those are his expectations. I, again, think that they probably miscalculated on our ability to continue the type of campaign that we're presently waging. I think that he has assumed that we have our strategy is probably the same as it would be, and that's a couple of days of air campaign only. And of course, we're not limited to that at all. Time is very definitely on our side.
You've said repeatedly that we are not deliberately trying to target Saddam Hussein. But why not? After all, if the objective of our strategy right now is to sever his command and control, wouldn't the best way to do that would be to sever him?
Well, I think General Powell probably answered that very effectively the other day, saying that, you know, that number one, trying to target one individual person, particularly in a country as large as Iraq, is your chances of doing that are far less than finding a needle in a haystack. But secondly, it's never been the American policy to go after a single individual or try to kill anyone. What we're trying to do is eliminate their ability to lead or to manage the battle, and that's what our objective is in this case.
General Schwarzkopf, is there any limit to our ability to sustain this present level of airstrikes against Iraq? Can this go on indefinitely?
I think it can go on. I certainly feel it can go on for as long as necessary. Let me put it that way.
All right. Depends how we have to define what is necessary. Many people ask the question, will it be absolutely necessary to commit our ground forces? Or if we are able to destroy his military capability inside Iraq, can we not just lay siege to Kuwait and wait him out? As a general, would you accept that as a tactical possibility?
I think that there's too many things out there that are scenario dependent to accept any particular scenario. Many people have said that we could win this with an air war alone. That's entirely conceivable. Many people have said that it's absolutely necessary to have a ground war. That's entirely conceivable also. I think that what's important is for us to measure the campaign as it progresses against the milestones and objectives that we've established for ourselves. And then, there's no fixed template out there that we absolutely must follow. We have to measure what's going on, what the situation is, and then make our decisions accordingly.
Fred?
Schwarzkopf, some of your colleagues, including a French general, said we should be prepared for a 2 or 3 month war. Should the American people be prepared to go into April with this?
Again, I've tried very hard to avoid, any sort of time frame, because I could give you a scenario that would say that the war could be over within 2 days. So I just think that the American people should understand that we have an integrated campaign here. That campaign could go on for a considerable amount of time, and I don't think it would be fair to mislead the American people and give them any date certain, either short-term or long-term at this point. Perhaps as the campaign progresses, we'll be able to make a better prediction. But remember, we're only really just barely over 3 days into this campaign now, and it's too early to predict anything.
Okay, 3 days into this campaign, over 3 days into it, you've begun to pummel the Republican Guards, those elite tank units in southern Iraq and northern Kuwait. Can you give us an update on exactly what part of that part of the war?
Well, I think that to say that we are pummeling the Republican Guard is probably an overstatement. We're continuing to execute the strategic portions of the campaign as they have been planned all along. The Republican Guard has always been one of many targets that we were going after. We've had a great deal of success in achieving most of our objectives. In those areas where we haven't achieved those objectives, we're going to continue to retarget until such time that we feel we have.
General, we built up 400,000 troops in the Gulf in hopes that we would make Saddam Hussein blink. We then went to war, beginning with a massive air campaign, and hoped that we would break his army and break their will. What can you tell us right now about mass defections, any defections, if at all, of Iraqi forces in Kuwait or elsewhere?
There have been defections all across the front in the last few days. We've had defections to Egyptian troops. We've had defections to American troops. We've had defections to Saudi Arabian forces. Not in mass numbers. I think that there are several reasons for that. Number one, I doubt if many of the troops in the front lines know what's going on in downtown Baghdad or throughout all of Iraq. I would say, secondly, that many of them are probably scared to death of what will happen to them if they come across the line, and we're doing everything we can to convince them that they're not in danger if they do come across. I think number three, they're all behind rather massive barriers themselves, and they're probably just as afraid of their own minefields and their barriers and trying to get through them to come to us. So I think it's too early to see mass defections.
Well, you have referred to some defections, and how many prisoners of war have we taken? Are we talking about tens or hundreds?
Well, defections and prisoners of war are two different subjects. So we've taken 23 prisoners of war to date. The defection numbers, as I say, they vary across the theater, and I wouldn't really be able to give you a specific now, but it's not large numbers to date.
General, to continue talking about some numbers, we've been told by briefers that in the airstrikes, about 80% of the missions of the sorties have been successfully engaging the targets. But what does that mean? I mean, people would like a better, more precise definition. Does that mean hitting the targets or destroying the targets?
Generally, when we talk about a successful execution of a mission, it means that the aircraft have arrived at their target, that they have released the munitions on the target, and that they are reasonably sure that those munitions have landed exactly on or close to the target that they were aimed at.
And what is your post-bombing analysis telling you so far in terms of the accuracy of the destructive ratio, if you would call it that?
Well, you know, the battle damage assessments that we've seen thus far have been very, very encouraging. But you can imagine that with a vast number of targets that we've been going after, it's awfully difficult, number one, to cover them all this quickly and to figure out what we've done. And number two, then even when you cover some of them, you can tell that a very good example is you can say you were going after a command and control center of some sort, and you found that the bomb landed directly in the middle of your target, but it's a target that's deeply underground. The question is, how much damage have you accomplished? These things are measured by other ways, by determining the effectiveness of their radars, if it was a command and control center for radar, etc. So there's a lot of different ways to do this, and it's not a precise science, and it does take a lot of time to really get a valid picture. And I would point out that we don't like to announce definite results until we are absolutely sure that what we're telling you is correct.
General, we know several planes have been lost so far in this air war. We have a report today from Baghdad by the Iranian news agency reporting that 2 American pilots have been shown on Iraqi television, that they have been captured. This comes from the Iranian journalists in Baghdad, but saying they were on television shown there. Do you have any information about this?
No, I've heard the same reports you've heard. I sincerely hope that's not true. We're doing our best to abide by the Geneva Convention, and I would certainly hope that the Iraqis do also.
Fred?
Yeah, General, how many pilots have we lost to date missing in action in the last 24 hours? The figure was up to 9. We had a couple of rescues. Could you bring us up to date on that?
Yeah, our total right now is 13 Americans and 9 members of the coalition. We have varying reports about what's happened to some of those members, but I would tell you, again, without giving you false numbers, we're carrying 13 Americans, 1 KIA, 12 missing in action, and the coalition has got 9 more.
So in the past 24 hours, we've lost 2 more aircraft or 3 more aircraft in the past 24 hours?
Yeah, I think that's correct. Probably
right.
3. I'm not exactly sure of the number.
And General, going back to the bombing and how successful, there are 4 primary nuclear research and development facilities. Can you say to the American people today that those weapons of mass destruction have been knocked out with the first 4 days of bombing?
I have very high confidence that those nuclear reactors have been thoroughly damaged and will not be effective for quite some number of years.
General Schwarzkopf, on the eve of this war, the head of the Israeli Air Force complained that there was really no facility for coordinating between Israeli forces and your forces in the Gulf in the event Israel should have to enter this war. Now that the Israelis have been struck and now that it is a possibility they will have to enter the war, has there been a coordination mechanism established?
I do not have any direct coordination mechanism with the Israeli armed forces in any way. Washington has made its own arrangements, and I think that is a question that is better directed at Washington than to Central Command.
Well, just to follow that up, are you confident that should the Israelis have to retaliate for an Iraqi missile attack, that you won't be literally running into each other in the skies?
I can assure you that that's one of my major concerns, and I'm quite sure that, that we're not going to be running into each other in the skies. I'm very sure of that.
General, do you have any information as to where Saddam Hussein is, what his attitude might be, and also are you able to monitor or find out what his top military leaders are saying to each other, what their morale is like, his generals?
Once again, I would say that finding one man is very difficult. We've had many reports that say that he's now, since we've announced that we're not targeting innocent civilians, that he's taken to hiding in buildings and hotels and things of that sort that are deep among innocent civilians, with a sure knowledge that we're not going to go in there and kill a lot of innocent people. So I think that's the best answer I can give you. Again, we're not going after Saddam. If I can eliminate his ability to communicate with his forces, and I'd be entirely satisfied with that result.
And do we know what his leaders, his military leaders, are saying or thinking these days, his generals?
Well, you've read the reports, let me see, Tel Aviv is a crematorium. We all know that's absolutely ridiculous. They've shot down 170 of our airplanes. That's absolutely ridiculous. Once again, it's the same concern I think that we've all had for a very long time, and that's whether Saddam Hussein is getting the correct story or being told what he wants to hear.
General, you said you'd be satisfied if Saddam couldn't communicate with his generals. In fact, that was primary #1 mission in this whole thing, to stop his ability to communicate. Has that been a failure on your part, General?
It has absolutely not been a failure.
So you're telling me flatly that he's not been able to talk to his troops?
I am telling you flatly that our objective has not been a failure. I just shouldn't leave it at that.
General, everything goes wrong, and so things go wrong in war. We've had 4 days of war. Would you tell the American people what are your surprises last 4 days?
The biggest surprise I have is not something that went wrong, it's something that went so right, and I'm so delighted with it, and that is the almost unbelievably low number of casualties that we have had, considering the fact that we were flying against an air defense system that was far, far, far tougher than anything America has ever flown against in the history of our warfare, as that certainly includes the air defense system over downtown Hanoi. It's just a real tribute, I guess, #1 to our capabilities, secondly to the courage and the professionalism of our pilots, but I am just absolutely delighted with the extremely low level of casualties. If I had to say something bad, I'd say I wish the weather'd be a little bit nicer right now.
General Schwarzkopf, on that note, we thank you very much for being with us live today from Saudi Arabia. Thank you very much. Next,
you're quite welcome.
Two voices from Congress, Congressman Lee Hamilton and Stephen Solars, as we continue.
President Bush and Prime Minister Shamir really didn't have much of a relationship. Surely they're going to have to develop one now.
Well, they seem to have developed one. Now, I think it was last June when Prime Minister Shamir was here, he and President Bush had a chance to get to know one another a little bit. And now, in this crisis, President Bush has been on the phone to him several times. He talked to him, I think, twice yesterday, as a matter of fact, urging him not to retaliate, urging him to let the U.S. retaliate on Israel's behalf, and offering him those Patriot missile systems, which are now already set up over there, at least a couple of them. So, yes, I think that relationship is developing. But the fact of the matter is that although Bush has been to Israel many times, he doesn't have that kind of deep gut feeling for Israel, its politics, that other American politicians have had.
Yeah.
The Secretary of State has never been there, not as a private citizen, not as Secretary of State.
Is that right, really?
That's right. I imagine that will change as soon as this war is over.
Yeah. Well, who knows when the war is going to be over, but it will end someday. Do you have a sense that the people around the State Department are looking forward to that day, thinking about the shape of the future in that part of the world, Bill?
There's been a lot of talk about it, Charlie. I'm not sure how much actual thinking there has been about it, but this is going to so scramble the situation in the Middle East politically that it's going to take an awful lot of adroit maneuvering to keep all the eggs from breaking, I think.
Yeah.
There's all this talk of a new world order. Well, nobody's sure exactly how that applies to the Middle East. Somebody's going to have to help keep the peace in whatever is left of Iraq. And it certainly isn't going to be an American occupation force, I don't think. These things are being mentioned, but I'm not sure they're really being thought about.
Well, I said diplomats have some work ahead of them, and I guess they do. Thank you very much, Bill, as always.
Good to see you.
The television event that electrified America is back.
Hell, they be writing songs about it for 100 years.
Take part in this unique television experience. Relive the legend.
They say you started the first cattle ranch up in Montana. They say you're a man of vision.
America returns to Lonesome Dove tonight.
This is CBS.
Spend 2 hours and a few dollars and we'll show you the greatest selection of Oregon products of 1991. This weekend through Sunday, come to the All-Oregon Products Show at Montgomery Park in Portland. Over 400 Oregon manufacturers, producers, and processors want you to enjoy big savings on their products. Use your paid admission ticket at the show. See Oregon's finest at the All-Oregon Products Show through Sunday at Montgomery Park in Portland.
When you come into a new Just Tires store for new tires, you get fast service, in addition to the great prices and selection. In fact, they don't mount your tires in 30 minutes. They'll take 20% off the price of the tires.
So you and I talked on the eve of this war about some of the mixed feelings that your own constituents have.